Good morning. So another amazing person in the community, um, over the last week or so, has been working on two projects. He wants to remain anonymous on when it comes to, well, at least in the past, he's told me he wants to remain anonymous, or at least I don't have to give him credit. But he's a longtime friend and subscriber, and he has been working on a conversion of a huge file boxers of boxers for Let's Rumble. And once he finished that, he asked me how the Let's Rumble boxing grades correlate to my game, Boxing Time. And so, of course, I expressed that, and he then proceeded to rate the same archive. 16,000 historical boxers are now also rated for my game, Big Country Boxing Time. So this archive, he's done for now Let's Rumble, and then because he had already made the conversions for Let's Rumble, he just asked, how does my game jive with Let's Rumble? And he rated 16,000. So for those who don't know, Candlelight Games, my flagship book is Big Country Time Sports, 8 advanced sports games. And Rodney, so right here in this folder, historical ratings for time games, Rodney went way beyond the Call of Duty, and he rated every baseball team, hockey team, basketball team, and football team in history, including the CFL, for my time sports versions of the games. And those rules are here, again, free. So in here, all those basic games are here, and all that history is here. And that kind of set a precedence for some community support. But then later, Rodney outdid himself and did this again for my Big Country games. These are the more advanced games. These games feature individual basketball players, hockey players, and baseball lineups. And he did this for every baseball team in history, every basketball team for the most part in history, every hockey team, and every pro football team, including the CFL. And that, the free Big Country Time Sports game book, 2025 edition, is right here. So, for the price of downloading, maybe printing, I guess if you print it, again, you can enjoy just about anything in your favorite sport in my games. Now, again, my games are abstract, so, they're not long-form games. Then I released my flagship football game, Parallax Football, and Rodney, within a week or so, was able to rate every football team in history, including the CFL, for my Parallax Football game. Parallax Football book is free right here. The gentleman who made this boxing file also made Parallax team cards. He also created, I believe, the 1972 team cards. Anyway, you can get any professional football team in history for Parallax Football, including the player lineups. So for those who don't know, it includes your player finders and who played for those teams. It is remarkable. I mean, it is remarkable. And just the want to do this for the community is a wonderful gesture and a wonderful thing. So Rodney, well, obviously, he who wants to remain unnamed has also set out to provide support for me and for my games, and he did the boxing archive. He also made this Boxing Time score sheet, which is brilliant. You can print it out, and he's got room up here for notes, and you got room up here to lay your boxer cards, or you can, put it through in a binder. But he's made a boxing score sheet for Big Country Boxing Time. My historical boxers, these were all handcrafted 1947 only. So the only historical boxers, I did make another file of historical boxers, but it's no longer on here. But there had been another file that was lots of different boxers. But I had made the 1947 handcrafted top boxers. And I did that because, again, my boxing big country universe starts really in 1948. So for playtesting, I'd had my own leagues for 47, and then I also had made heavy. So anyway, these guys were handmade, representing the top heavyweights of 47. This is the year that Marciano debuted and beat Jersey Joe ultimately for the heavyweight title. Anyway, and then the middleweights of 47 I handcrafted, and the welterweights and the lightweights are all the boxers I had ever made. But I did this myself. I did this through. Well, the amazing thing about our community is there are those who have got files of boxers, and those files of boxers were rated. And fortunately, my subscriber and friend was able to convert those into Let's Rumble boxing, giving us 16,000 boxers for Let's Rumble, or Championship Boxing, which is the big long form game of Owlsat, and Let's Rumble. So now that those 16,000 boxers can be used with either of those games. And of course, he then set out to do the same thing for big country boxing times. So now, it's just amazing. So now I can come in here. This one is 25 pages. This is Junior Welters. I can come in here now and grab, I don't know, I'll try to find somebody, Crawford. There he is, Terrence Crawford. And it's got, he's an A grade. So we'll talk about this in a second. So the one thing we couldn't do was my game features styles. You're either a boxer or a slugger, or some are both. But there was no way to convert. There was no information to rate them for both boxing and slugging. So my game features boxing and slugging. A lot of games do. Title Bout certainly did. I think Legends of Boxing, I think, has a boxer slugger or something like that. It leans. So boxers could be rated. Now, I think in Title Bout, you choose, how they're fighting the fight. I think in Legends of Boxing, it affects your control factor. And in my game, it affects the bag grade. So if I choose to box and you're choosing slugger, or I'm going to look at my boxing grade against your defense as a slugger and vice versa. Okay. Well, there wasn't data to convert to convert. I don't know, is Roberto Duran, so it's a single grade, and you choose before the fight how you want them to fight. I suggest that you, try to use their historical, leaning. Roberto Duran to me is a slugger. But anyway, either way, you could choose before the fight how you want them to fight. The default is boxer. So if you don't know, just use boxer versus boxer bag. But there is boxer versus slugger, and there's slugger versus slugger. So it's kind of nice to know because it does set how guys fight during the fight. But anyway, Terrence Crawford is an A. So he would be a boxer A, slugger A, right? Depending how you want to fight him. His power is a D. And again, this is based on the range of ratings that we had available from the original file to the Let's Rumble file, which then transfers to my file. So this is all relative. So you see D, what the hell? Well, it's relative, right? So Terrence Crawford compared to, say, Roberto Duran is not going to be as powerful, right? I'm trying to think who the big power puncher is here in the welters. Well, shoot, I'm not seeing him for the welters. Power for the welters. Ah, there's Guy. Steve, I can't read his name. Steve Spark is a B. Okay, so, again, you can see it's all Oh, there's another one. Oh, that's Aaron Pryor, isn't it? Oh, hell yeah. Aaron Pryor's still ABD. Yeah. So here we go. Aaron Pryor is ABDBA, and his TKO is a 10, and his endurance is a 12. So he would probably be the highest rated boxer in this particular weight class. I believe this weight class has one of my all-time favorites. This is welter. Mine is a junior feather. So anyway, 16,000 boxers. The great thing about this, as opposed to mine, so let's go back to mine. So I do believe that when you take the time to analyze boxers in their careers, look at the research, look at the people they fought, look at their reputation, and go to rating them. That's obviously subjective. All of this stuff is subjective. All that isn't is wins, losses, knockouts. That's not subjective, right? We know those stats for everybody. This gives a nuance to the value of boxers, but it is based on it's going to be obviously greatly affected by a bias. I'm biased, to Ezra Charles. I'm biased to Rocky Marciano. And there's plenty of boxers I honestly can't say I saw fight. I'd have to look them up and try to find, footage on them on YouTube or something. But there are boxers that if you haven't seen them fight even, it's hard to say. And you might see film, and you might turn out you're watching film when it was the end of their career, or something. So, Ray Robinson, Cerdan. Anyway, my point is, when you rate them, when you handcraft them and do research and try to make every boxer, number one, it's time consuming. And two, you're always going to have a little bias, right? You're always going to have a little bias. So, anyway, that's, and I had another file that had Alexis Arguello, and I can't, it's not in here anymore. But long story short, I guess what I'm getting at is, again, the original archive, I don't know how the ratings were allocated. The original 16,000 boxer archive, which then had to be, those numbers had to be translated to Let's Rumble, which I helped my friend do. We figured out the range that we needed to translate successfully those boxers from Let's Rumble. And then he also wanted me to do that for my game. But the point is, it's all relative. So what's important is when you see something you think that's a bad grade. Oh, well, it's ultimately going to be relative to his peers. So when you see, wait a minute, young Abbott only has an F power. Well, again, relative. Look how many guys have F power in the junior or in the featherweights, right? So it's very relative, right? So let's go to heavyweights. Heavyweights are the easiest to scrutinize because everybody knows these guys. Featherweights, a lot of guys don't know, but we come in here and look at Muhammad Ali. Ali rates out an A for his boxer slugger, D power, B for his was that desire. Desire, chin. I don't remember what order he's got him in. Desire, chin, and oh God, sorry, it's bright and early. I haven't had coffee yet. Defense, yeah, his defense, and then his TKO rate, and then his endurance. So Ali can go 12 rounds before seeing any of his ratings dip. So Ali's pretty remarkable that way. But let's come over here and look at, let's find another great old fighter. Let's go. Here we go. Let's find Tyson Fury. Who I think has been a pretty remarkable modern heavy. Tyson Fury, he's an AF. So again, his boxer grade, boxer slugger is A. Now I would fight both Ali and Tyson Fury as a boxers. Tyson Fury, for a big man, is remarkably agile and remarkably tricky boxer. He really is. And so anyway, I would say Tyson Fury, for a big man, is a boxer. And Ali, I think, clearly leaned toward being a boxer more, but he could slug if he had to. Anyway, they would both line up on the charts as boxers. Again, F power for Tyson Fury. It's relative, but he's at AAA 6 TKO for Tyson Fury and 10 endurance, so he'll fatigue at around 10. So there you have it, right? And again, it's all pretty relative, but it's originally based on an archive that had raw scores. And then, of course, those were translated to Let's Rumble. And then we had to translate the Let's Rumble ratings to my games, grades. And then, so it's really the resolution for this is it's like taking a photograph and then editing it. You lose resolution. Every time you copy a videotape, you would lose resolution. And by the time you've handed out your 5th copy of a copy, it was the resolution was pretty bad. Well, the resolution from the original archive to Let's Rumble lost something. And then from Let's Rumble to mine, loses a little something. But that's not what's important. What's important is there are 16,000 historical boxers now. So boxing, big country boxing time, can be enjoyed with your favorite historical boxers and boxing matches. 16,000 boxers is nothing to sneeze at, so that's pretty cool. I think it's 16, I don't know, 15,000. I think it's something like that, 15 something or 16 something thousand. Let's go look at George Foreman. Let's find George Foreman here. Oh, there he is. There's George. George's A power. There we go. How about them apples? D for his desire. So if you clock Foreman, if you do get a big mitt on Foreman, he will probably go down. But getting up, oh yeah, he's got a chin of A. Foreman's going to probably rise to the occasion. And then an A defense, which is just amazing. But that's really more because Foreman was able to deflect blows off his big arms and shoulders, and defense is not just a reflection of their ability to avoid being punched. It's going to be a reflection of their ability to sustain damage, right? So defense is very abstract. There are guys like Rocky Marciano who I would argue put his head down and charged in, and he didn't spend a lot of time bobbing and weaving, but he took a pounding without it affecting him. And that is a defense. If you're capable of taking a punch, then you can go in guns blazing, so to speak. So Marciano in that sense. Okay, and then we have 10 TKO, because again, he's not going to suffer much damage, but only 6 endurance, so he will fatigue, and these ratings will all drop by 1 when he fatigues. So against Muhammad Ali, he's at 6. Ali's going to get the advantage. This guy's going to drop everything, and you have to recalculate his bag grade. And Ali then would have an advantage for 6 rounds because Ali goes to 12. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, who's another? Oh, Frazier. I just saw him there. Jolton Joe. A. Okay, so again, all of the top boxers are going to fall into the A or B slugger category. Their power is where things are interesting now. C for Frazier. D for his defense, I think. Is that right? No, it's desire. I got to get this. I cannot remember if it's the same as my book in order as far. Desire. A, though, chin, and then A, defense, 10, 12. So he's going to give Ali a run for 12 rounds. And he actually won't suffer TKO easy. And he's got the defense to match. So pretty sweet, Frazier. All right, let's see here. And again, these are abstract grades. So you've got to understand how boxing time works in which these abstractions will make sense. me think of, Mike Tyson. Let's go find Mike Tyson. Everybody knows Mike Tyson. Famous run to be the youngest heavyweight champion in the history of the sport. And did so knocking people out in the first 2 minutes, it seems. First 3 minutes. All right, so Tyson is an A. And I agree with that. At his peak, he was definitely an A. And he could box or slug. No doubt he fought like a slugger, but he defended himself like a boxer. His peekaboo defense was phenomenal with that power. He'd pop out of that peekaboo defense and lay your ass out. BB, love that. AA. Okay, so Mike Tyson is A, boxer slugger. B, power. Desire B, chin A, defense A, 10 TKO, and 10 endurance. So this is basically Mike Tyson at his, kind of his apex. That is sweet. Wow. How about, let's go Klitschko, Vitaly. Here we go. Vladimir and Vitaly. AB, okay, Vitaly's a B. C, power, Vladimir. B, DD in their desire. AA in their chin. A, B in their defense. 8 TKO. And then a big difference in endurance. 6'10". Wow. So the Vitaly, to Vitaly Klitschko. Right. Vitaly and Vladimir. Fascinating. Let's find Ken Norton. It's always fun to look up guys who had famous fights with Ali, but they weren't necessarily dominant fighters, but famous fights against Ali. But I would argue guys like Ken Norton weren't dominant, but they were damn tough. Ken Norton, he is a B. So boxer slugger B, D power, desire D, chin B, A defense 8 and 10. So pretty good. A lot of the top boxers are going to feature good defense. A lot of the top boxers will have a good chin. Desire is going to be an interesting check. And then the one that's a little, power seems to be just a little underrated, but again, it's all relative. I'm not certain why it came out quite like that, but you'll notice the big punchers are still the big punchers. So I would argue the power rating is a little, not a little, it's off, but we did the best we could to convert. It's 2 generations from the original rating system. Not only did we have to re-rate for Let's Rumble, we had to select which ones translated to Let's Rumble, and then of course we used Let's Rumble to translate to My Game, and My Game is truly unique. There's not another boxing game that I'm aware of that matches up boxers, and most boxing games they fight in a vacuum, as if they're using their card and they fight in a vacuum. They're not actually affected by the other boxer. I think something like title bout, the other boxer's defense will affect your hit range. But beside that, they fight in a vacuum. They don't actually affect each other. It's kind of weird. Why boxing games do this, I don't know. Boxers are hard rated, and anytime that boxer's ratings come up, they just apply to the engine, or the dice apply to them. And this is one of the reasons I don't play a lot of I've had problems with boxing games. That ain't how it works, though. When Ali fights Foreman, he appears to be a superior boxer. But when he fights another guy who's as agile and as adept, it changes what kind of fighter he is. So My Game will match him up, and that'll tell you. So they change before the fight even starts. Ali will be different against Jimmy Abbott before I even fight the fight. And then when they fatigue, they're going to change, and that's going to change the fight. And I think what bothers me about 90% of sports games, everything is rated in a vacuum. And that bothers me. Pitchers in Stratomatic are rated based on their stats in a vacuum. That vacuum for their statistics to exist, that didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened in real games where they pitched pitches and things happen. But the best way to rate, obviously, if you have that kind of data, to rate a pitcher is based on how they perform. But when we're rolling dice in Stratomatic, it's either going to be his card raw or it's going to be the batter's card raw. They're in a vacuum, right? They both exist happening independently of each other, which is not sport. And boxing games, almost every boxing game does this. And it drives me nuts to think that Hagler exists in this hard form. And he's unaffected by Thomas Hearns. And Thomas Hearns is only going to be lucky enough to get a card in his favor or dice in his favor. Thomas Hearns isn't actually changing how Hagler fights or vice versa. And so most boxing games right there fell. If you look at my very first boxing game that I published, not that I made, but that I published, Big Country Boxing, you have a raw rating, and that raw rating is just a number, 762, and you're fighting a guy who's 1252 tonight, which means you're going to be fighting at negative 500 and something. And that's your odds of winning every single round. So my boxer is affected by the other boxer. Or if I have 752 and I'm fighting a guy that's 400, I'm going to be fighting tonight at the plus 300. So every time I drop the dice, my boxer has an advantage through the whole fight. But at least my boxer isn't fighting in a vacuum. He is affected mathematically by the other boxer, and it's going to create a range in which my boxer has a big advantage or very little advantage or is disadvantaged. And why most of the boxing games in history and most of the boxing game designers in history, sports game designers, football teams, they're going to give you a card, and that's how that team operates in a vacuum, completely and utterly unaffected by the other team. The only time the other team matters is when you roll the dice that go to their card, or when something tells you to check their card. Rarely do you ever see one thing affected by the other. And for those who want to know the difference between my design philosophy in sports games and my peers, going back to 60 years, is I don't design them to face each other in a vacuum. Parallax football demands before the game starts, 1970s, before the game starts, the 1972 Pittsburgh Steelers, 74 Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Where's 74 Steelers? The birth of their, right? Before every single game, before you roll dice in my games, certainly in Parallax football and all my games, you have to match them. So Pittsburgh's defense, where's their raw scores? Oh, that's the player scores. Where the hell are the historical teams? Where are the... Wait a minute. Where's the guy? Team ratings, sorry. The team ratings are what matter. The others are players. But before every game, we're going to look and we're going to do our matchups. We're going to see what my passing versus their pass defense, right? So my F versus their A. And of course, it's relative. So in the 20s, everybody was poor at passing, which means everybody's pass defense was pretty good. But it's consistent with the 1920s. But the point is, if you play them from different eras, it's going to matter, right? If I play this team, the Akron Pros, against the 1984 Dolphins, it's going to look the way it should look. Dan Marino is going to be affected by their pass defense, though, right? Which is dependent a lot on the 1920s passing. But at least it brings Dan Marino down to a tolerable level. But this team's not going to pass well against the Miami Dolphins of 84. Right? Anyway, long story short, you have to maximum. Dan Marino does not get to play in a vacuum, right? And every game, including Status Pro Football, drove me bananas. That Dan Marino, the card, you call a play, and Dan Marino's card, you can't do anything to affect Dan Marino's card. I mean, you do. You call the defenses. So I'll call a defense to minimize his numbers, but everything is affected by his card. And my play call, my actual defensive players, they just slowly or very incrementally adjust that again by 2 points, +2, -2. And, of course, the interception range. If you happen to be throwing against Lester Hayes and you flip that card that says 46, Lester's going to get that. That's an interception. He wins over Dan Marino's card, and boom, Lester picks it off. But there's just this feeling that everything operates in a vacuum in a way, and I kind of like seeing things blended before we start dropping dice. For what it's worth. I mean, it's all a matter of taste and what you like. But anyway, there it is. We now have the entire history of professional sports rated by Rodney for my big country games. We have the entire history of professional sports rated for my time games. So whatever you like the most. And of course, I always make some copy of each available free. The entire history of professional football, including the CFL, rated for Parallax Football. And now we have a huge archive. I think, again, somewhere between 15 and 16,000 boxers rated for boxing time. And again, all free. So enjoy. And I want to thank my friend who wants to remain anonymous for doing this. Between Rodney and now our other friend in the community, we have got my games could be played and enjoyed as with historical teams and boxers, which is nice. They were created to be career-based fictional sports games, but it's really cool to be able to grab and play through the 1976, the Raiders, Ken Stabler's entire first year as a starter was great fun. And you can see those videos on the channel, and his numbers came out remarkably close to what he did in real life, which was really cool to see that. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye-bye.